So I want to shift now to modern day Arizona, and what's happening here and the stuff that you're doing now. And we're kind of all over the place because we're interested in learning more about what you've done. And you've done a lot, so we want to dig into that. But so now you launched Canyon Angels.
Right.
In concurrent with the business school, is the business school a sponsor of that also, or is it?
Yes, in the sense that so we're a separate 501c6 nonprofit,
Okay.
and we tied it to the Colangelo College of Business by making it a 1-credit elective class for the students.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah.
And really the mission is twofold. Number one is to activate Arizona investors into that early stage space as much as possible. So we've got about 60, 75 members now, more or less. And we'd like to grow that to 100, 200, whatever the case might be.
Let me ask you about that. So those members, if let's say myself or another listener wants to become more of an angel investor, can they get involved in that?
Totally, yeah. Not only are we like the cheapest group to be a part of angel groups, $500, sure, but you could just come in, sit in anytime. We've a lot of times to get into that angel space, we see Shark Tank and you think you have to be a billionaire. No. From a viewer standpoint, you shouldn't put more than 5% of your portfolio into this. And tragically, the minimum investment into most startups is about 25 grand.
Yeah.
So if you're an investor and you want to build up a portfolio, because you should in this asset class have somewhere between 10 and 20 companies, would be a decent diversification. All right, well, that would mean you're going to have to drop whatever it is, $300,000. And to many, you might be a millionaire. Great, because that's what you have to be to qualify to be an accredited investor, to be part of an angel group. But cutting those checks is a serious pain, right? And so what we do is we form dedicated LLCs. We pool funds together as individuals, which allows us to sometimes lower that entry threshold to $5 grand.
Oh, that's great.
So individual investors can come and work with Canyon Angels and invest in startup companies with as little as $5,000.
Yeah, that's
and when you talk about having a portfolio of 10 to 20 companies, anybody who's learned a little bit about the VC space knows that what you're really trying to do is get that one pop, because you're going to have out of 20 companies 19 failures, 18 failures where they don't work out. Is that kind of how you structure your portfolio and think about it?
The Angel Capital Association tries to track this as much as possible. It's not easy to track this data because every individual member kind of goes off on their own and does their own thing, and there's no requirement to report back to any angel group or in any way track these things. So the data is disparate and non-homogeneous, so to speak. But nonetheless, they've been able to track some decent statistics. And what those statistics show is that out of a portfolio of 10 early stage investments, 5 bankrupt within the first 2 to 3 years. 2 will get you back your capital. 2 more will get you maybe 1 to 3x. And 1 out of those 10 might get you 5 to 10x. That's their statistics. You'd hope that an angel group can help you screen the deals so that you can pick more winners than losers.
And is that what Canyon Angels does? Do you bring in various groups, a lot from the college potentially?
So yeah, we put the students to work, and honestly, the students are brilliant. They work so hard. They dig into these companies, and they have a perspective, much like the reason why Jamison hired you is because of your social media grasp, your technology mindset, etc. Those insights that they're able to, they'll Google anything in the middle of class and say, I don't think so, sir. This is what I found. And they bring that perspective, which really to us investors is a great insight. So we really appreciate that. Plus it's free labor from our perspective.
Well, and from a student perspective, it goes back to getting some hands-on experience when you're a student, and I think you get some credit for it too, but to do some sort of startup,
absolutely,
to get your feet wet, but more importantly to probably fail to realize how hard it is to do something in the real world is so important in your education as a student. If you can get that as a student instead of in the real world, and you have a little bit more of a soft landing.
Exactly.
It's so important to like actually just get in there and do it, because like you can read, like I read a lot of like self-help, self-development books and stuff, and like they really help me with the mindset. But until you actually like just sit down and just do it, or just get the internship or get on a sales call or whatever it is, until you actually just do it, like it doesn't, none of it really makes sense. You can't actually apply it to your life. So.
Well, you did that with the sunglasses business during COVID, which I think is a cool story.
Well, yeah. So you probably heard of Shopify. I'm sure it's probably some of your students have told you about Shopify stores they've started, and I tried to start a e-commerce store because at the beginning of COVID, which was a few years ago now, I had this idea. It's sort of when I was getting into entrepreneurship a little bit. My girlfriend's dad kind of inspired me. He owns a couple grocery stores, and I was like, okay, this like he has a lot of freedom. I want to be an entrepreneur, so I'm gonna start a business right now. Zero experience, zero skill. But I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I was like, I got to pick a product. I didn't even think about services. I was like, product only. Like that's what most, beginning entrepreneurship, you think about. I got to find a product to sell. And so what I thought that people would want during COVID is they're going to be on their computers a lot. So I thought I'd sell blue light glasses to help people, or maybe even parents who want to protect their kids' eyes from blue light. They're going to be looking at screens all day.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's an interesting theory. Any business you're going to start, you have to have
what
some
problem
idea.
do you solve?
Yeah, and I had the problem, but the problem that even you talk about this in class is that even if you have a problem, but your customers have to actually want this. And we're going through this right now with our projects, is that your customers actually have to say yes. They have to get out their credit cards and actually purchase this thing before, it's not, your offer is not validated.
And it doesn't matter how awesome your product is.
Yeah.
If nobody buys it, it's not that good of a product.
And like Jamison says all the time, I've learned this from Jamison, is that it's something, I can't remember the phrase.
It sounds like it hasn't stuck that well, I guess.
Every idea is a bad idea until it's proven. And so really this idea, I thought it was a great idea. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be the next $1 million business. And so I launched it. I think I spent probably $300 total because I was drop shipping it from China. Mm-hmm. A piece of crap glasses that no one would actually want. But I was testing the product.
And you bought how many?
I didn't actually buy any. That's what drop shipping is.
Oh, okay.
So I that was all like the web development and all the advertising costs was about $350. And on the first day I made 2 sales, and I decided, I think I ran it for a week, and there was only 2 sales that I made. It was the first day. And after that week, I didn't test any more ads. I didn't test anything else. I didn't know what I was doing really, but that's what kind of got me into it. But it was, it really showed me that like you really have to get your offer validated before you have to make sure people want to purchase whatever.
Well, the next part of your project is the smoke test.
Yes, that's exactly what the next part of our project is.
So if you're a entrepreneur, you have an idea, what direction would you send that person if they're in the early stages?
At the idea stage?
They're at the idea stage and they want to start doing something with the idea now.
I really am a follower of Steve Blank and the lean business model.
Lean Startup.
The Lean Startup, yeah, Eric Ries.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
Great book, yeah.
And what first contact with customer is foundational. And the sooner you can have that, the better. So we go through this whole empathy thing. How well do you understand the problem? How well do you define it using human-centered design? Every time you're out there talking to who it is you think is suffering from the problem that you think you're solving, every time you talk to them, that's a potential customer contact. How do you validate that interaction so that when you do figure out what is of value, you can go back to those people that you were talking to about the problem and see if it resonates and if, in fact, they can purchase what is your solution, or even indicate that they would purchase it. Like, oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah, that might do it. So send me more information. That would be the smoke test type thing. Mm-hmm. If you can get people that at least your solution resonates with them and they're willing to take action before you go out and hire the full-on developer team, which is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. No-doc solutions, no-code solutions are becoming super ubiquitous. Back in the 90s, I used to build data centers for telecom groups. I mean, these are multi-million-dollar investments that you had to do with server racks everywhere. just because you were going to offer a software solution to
Now
somebody.
you do a AWS server, and
Unbelievable.
it's a couple hundred a month.
Couple hundred a month. It's all variable expense, no capital expenditure. What used to be hundreds of thousands of dollars is now demonetized into hundreds of dollars. So you can build almost anything now at a fraction of the cost of what it was just 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you can reach 100 times the marketplace because now 83% of the planet has a smartphone.
Yeah, and you can spend $100 and offer and validate your service or product online.
Let's say you have it validated and you need to raise some capital and you're in Arizona. What are their options? And I know Canyon Angels focuses on GCU, but is that an option? How would they approach to you? And then what are the other angel groups that you've come across?
Correct you on the Canyon Angels focusing on GCU. We're affiliated, we put students to work, but we don't fund GCU companies.
Okay.
Unless there's a really good one that comes out. We fund companies from all across the country. We don't care. If it's a great new scalable startup, we're in. We had 3 companies pitch to us. One flew out of New York. It's a company called Thimble AI. They have an awesome STEM ed kit that plus a software support system to it that they're now in 7 states all across the Texas system. They're here in the Cartwright system. These guys are about to scale.
Wow.
Another company that's fascinating, good buddy. He's been out there for 10 years as a friend, Angel. But they're out of California, and they have a platform that's essentially organizing the data for the whole off-track betting structure that's out there now.
That's blown up.
But they're doing data for extreme sports, skateboarding, surfing, BMX, this kind of thing.
Data as in like tracking.
Yeah, so you want to do betting on whether or not Shaun White's going to nail his next 380 or I'll screw up whatever.
So they're working. You can be being able to bet on things like that.
Exactly.
Wow.
And they know that is a super sexy space. If you can think of all the betting platforms like Caesars and whatever, they're all in the top 4 sports: NBA, NFL, whatever, basketball, baseball. This is a whole new space. So that was another company we had pitched to us today. And then we had a really cool AI facial recognition platform that protects identity, but allows for use from everything from makeup to driver awareness to you name it, with utilizing facial recognition technology. Super cool stuff.
What proportion of the companies that you work with are in Arizona, and how would you describe what's happening in Phoenix when it comes to the startup community?
The AI company is out of Phoenix. Arguably, a significant portion of that sports betting thing is Arizona Tide. Our ecosystem is evolving in a wonderful way. As you said, though, it still seems siloed, right? How did I not know about this co-working space? How did we not meet, etc.? But when you look at what the Arizona Commerce Authority has done in sponsoring what is the nation's largest business competition / incubator program with the Arizona Innovation Challenge, and also sponsoring Venture Madness, which is through Invest Southwest, which is we just had our 30-year event this last week.
Yeah, that's going on right now. Yeah.
Yeah, just wrapped it up. And been involved with it for, I don't know, almost 10 years, past chair, that kind of thing. What that has done is create almost a gauntlet of training and homogenization of resources across the community, across the universities, across the angel groups, across the VC groups, and the co-working spaces like Galvanize, where they all kind of get to see, oh, that's what I have to do to raise money. My pitch deck needs to be this tight. I need to have this level of customer validation. I need to have my coding and whatever this done to this degree. I think it has done so much to raise the level of the caliber of companies that we have. That's been a very positive thing.
Yeah, and we have a lot of potential here in Phoenix because a lot of people want to live here. It's a great place to do business. It's a friendly government. And I think as an entrepreneur, personally, I was attracted to Phoenix, and I think we have a great next 10 years ahead of us when it comes to startups, and these things that have started. that you mentioned, the contests and the angel communities are key to continue to fund these projects so that we have some big winners. I worked at LifeLock, which was founded in Phoenix.
Huge.
Ended up going public, sold for $2.5 billion, and now there's several thousand employees that were from that. So that's the sort of environment that I think over the next 10 years we continue to develop it. And again, want to thank you for joining us today. We're gonna have to have you come on again.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we want to get more into the startup space and what you're seeing. Maybe we have you on in a few months and get an update on those things and spend more time on that, because that's super exciting to us.
Absolutely. Jamison, it's been a pleasure. Grayson, super impressive. Well
Thanks for
done, my
coming
young
on.
man. And anytime.
Yeah, we'll see you
Love to be
soon.
part of it.